right, thank you guys so much for tuning into today's live stream. It is June 16th, 2025, and to begin today's live stream, I do want to take a look at the economic calendar here. We today on Monday don't really have anything exciting. G7 meetings with the United States, Canada, and we have Empire State Manufacturing Index. I have no idea what that is. It's basically businesses. It's a survey of about 200 manufacturers in New York State, which asked respondents to rate the relative level of general business conditions. But yeah, we don't really have much news today, to be honest. Coming into this week, however, on Wednesday we have unemployment claims and we have FOMC and the FOMC meeting. So that's something to take a look for. Thursday we have a bank holiday for Juneteenth, I believe. Yeah, so to begin today's, I guess, technicals. Alright, so to begin today's technicals, let's take a look at the daily time frame. So actually I want to get rid of this for right now because it's kind of messing up my view here. So this is the weekly candle of last week. With the way that we closed. Alright, see ya, bye, bye, Peter. With the way that we closed on the weekly candle, I don't necessarily have a bias, right? It's a down close candle, meaning the closure is below the open. However, it doesn't necessarily support the idea of lower prices, right? If you go from the weekly time frame to the daily time frame, there isn't really much displacement to suggest the idea of lower prices. And nothing is really in support of lower prices, right? And yeah, so from the weekly time frame, I don't necessarily have a bias. And going into the daily time frame, this is the daily candle from Friday. And same idea here as well. So the daily candle here on Friday was closing pretty... It was going to close pretty bearish. However, we had this like kind of a larger retracement in closure. And so with the way that we close on the daily time frame, I don't necessarily have a bias here as well. And so coming into today, I know that I can't utilize the weekly time frame and the daily time frame. So that means I have to utilize the intraday time frames, such as the 4-hour time frame, the 8-hour time frame for the morning, and then possibly even the 6-hour time frame for the afternoon session, and the 10-hour time frame for the afternoon session. So depending on how those candles close here coming into today will give me my bias, especially coming into the morning today, right? I'm going to be more dependent on how we close here on the 8-hour time frame and the 4-hour time frame for a morning objective. But yeah, so like I said, coming into today, I would be inclined to use the 4-hour time frame and the 8-hour time frame as a objective. And let's take a look here on ES. So ES, we have failed to take out the swing high. So notice there's that swing high right there on NQ, and we've taken out that swing high. On ES, we have yet to take out the swing high. So for right now, there is like some sort of SMT here, which isn't ideal. Yeah, so that SMT right now is like, because there's SMT, it's possible that we could reverse lower. However, I think my best bet coming into the morning right now is to wait until the 4-hour time frame and the 8-hour time frame officially closes for me to really confirm a bias for right now. But yeah, going into today with a pretty patient approach. I know that today I'm going to have to like be really nimble and know when to pivot. And yeah. So yeah, like I stated, weekly time frame very indecisive. It's a doji candle, and like I can't really tell if we would take out the weekly high or the weekly low. Like here on this candle right here, from 2 weeks ago on this weekly candle, to me it was clear that we are going to take out the weekly high. That's like the most obvious draw of liquidity, right? Like here on this monthly candle here as well, we closed pretty bullishly. Very clear that we would most likely take out the monthly high. And so if I just don't have that same confidence coming into this week, I would decide not to utilize those time frames, right? Every single time frame has an objective. Every single candle has a open, high, low, close. And so if I could use that to my advantage, I would. So here, right now, I'm watching really closely on how we close here on ES. I want to see us take out this swing high on ES if we are going to maintain bullish price action. But if we can't take out that blue line on ES, then, like I said, there's a possibility that we could reverse. Alright, so coming into this week, I'm gonna start the pros and cons section of the stream here now. But yeah, so coming into this week, some things that I can carry on from last week are, or I guess some pros that I'm carrying on to this week are just maintaining a really consistent approach, right? Today is about like the halfway point of the year, so I remember I wrote to myself that the only way that I'm going to find success here is if I can remain consistent How I'm able to do that is if I can identify the 3 components to my strategy before executing. Higher time frame objective, a model, an entry pattern. All of those things should be present and should be identified before I even press the button, right? Before I set the limit order. This just allows me to fully utilize my strategy, right? If I'm taking a trade and all I simply have is a higher time frame objective, but no model, no entry pattern, then that goes against my whole entire framework, right? If I were to go over, like, review every single one of my trades for like the past 6 months, they're all going to have the same, they're all going to have the same structure. They might not be exactly alike, but they're going to have a higher time frame objective. There's going to be a model, and there's going to be an entry pattern, right? So that's the first thing that comes to mind whenever I decide on some of the pros, right? It is just to be consistent. Second, to actually utilize my model to align myself with the higher time frame order flow. So I'm really sore, but yeah. So my model is how I position myself with the higher time frame order flow. So if the order flow here on the weekly time frame was for us to take out the weekly high, then my model could be based off of the daily time frame, right? And it has to suggest this, or it has to be in alignment with the same order flow. So if I'm bullish on the weekly time frame, then I should be bullish on the daily time frame. And that could mean me taking out the daily high, right? For me, I always have to have a model. There's going to be times where I kind of have an idea of where prices wants to go in a general direction, right? And if I don't have a model, then I just simply have to sit on my hands and just watch price action do its thing. It builds the good habits that I am trying to develop, right? And yeah, so that's the second thing, utilizing a model. Third thing here is paying really close attention to SMT. Like I said, SMT, if there is SMT, then you have to be under the impression that we could reverse. SMT allows for a chance of a possible reversal in prices. And so utilize that to your advantage. Like I said, coming into this morning, I'm watching closely here on how ES is trading at its relative high, right? We're really close to it here on ES, but just falling a little bit short here. But yeah, so I'm watching really closely here on ES to see if we can take out this high or not. Because as of right now, there is SMT. And for me, it's just to not really force any trades. If there's no setup, then I just have to sit on my hands. And I've been able to do this pretty well to a certain extent, right? But whenever it comes to, I guess, training my personal capital, it is a little bit of a different mentality, right? It's a little bit different mentally wise whenever you're trading your own personal capital. And so I'm just trying to see where I am at and how well I can control my actions and emotions, right? And that's pretty much all of the pros. Some of the cons are just essentially like my risk to reward rules. So for me, I have to the risk to reward should at least for me be a 1-to-1. Typically, it's not always a 1-to-1. It's always going to be maybe around like a 1.25, 1.5, or 1.75, right? Around there. Second is maximum dollar loss limit is $100. So I can only allow myself to risk $100 or 100 for every single execution. And yeah, that's basically like majority of the risk to reward that I have set for myself. Everything else, like the day margin requirements and the fees, are kind of set in stone. I can't really change that. That is up to Tradeovate and how that brokerage decides to do business. Some improvements here for this week, just to stay consistent. Like I said, for me, consistency is always going to be number one value of mine. Every single trade should have the similar structure, should have the similar outline. I should be able to review like multiple trades and be able to kind of compare them side by side on like the higher time frame objective, model, and entry pattern. They should all have the same kind of like components. Second, utilize SMT to your advantage before and during. Before is kind of like what I'm doing right now, where I'm watching for if we can take out the high, and during a trade, I'm watching for if ES takes out the high or low that I'm targeting on ES, then I have to consider moving my stops to break even and prevent myself from taking any unnecessary losses. Third, know when to pivot. Understand that every single time frame has an objective, in that if I know that every single time frame has an objective, then I should be able to use all of the time frames, right? Pivoting from time frames. Once a time frame has completed its objective, go on to a different time frame. And if you've gone to the lowest time frame that you're willing to go to, then you just have to wait. That's like the only two things that you can do, is either pivot or you want to wait for a candle to close. That's about the only thing. And last but not least is know not to force anything. Don't force any trades to happen, but also don't be hesitant to execute your strategy whenever the three components are aligned, right? If everything is telling you to press the button, then just do it. Don't worry about whether or not it's wrong or right or wrong. All you're worried about is executing your game plan and having confidence in it. And that wraps it up for the pros and cons / improvements here. For the technicals, sorry, got a little bit excited. But yeah, so here you can see that ES, we have taken out that high. So now ES and NQ, they no longer have a SMT divergence. That is pretty good, because the lack of SMT means that it is possible, and that means we are most likely going to continue higher here, to be honest, because of the lack of SMT. So that is what I would be considering for today and this morning, is that we expand higher towards the 4-hour high and the 8-hour high. Here you can see that we actually rebalanced into a hourly fair value gap on the hourly time frame, and we respected it and we continue to expand higher. That's clean price action. Being really patient here. I don't want to force anything to happen. I think for the time being, I'm just gonna go into game of chess and see what I can do to kind of warm up the brain. I kind of had a feeling that he was going to do that. I could honestly castle long, but he has four pawns on that side, and I don't want to be a part of that, to be honest. Okay, so he's pushing. Okay. Attack the knight. See if I can attack the knight, get rid of this pawn. Oh, would you look at that? Took out previous day high on both NQ and ES. I feel like he's gonna probably, I'm up one pawn here. I think it's best if I try to go for this pawn here as well. Line up the rooks. He's gonna go for this one. I think that's fine if I go like this. Yeah, so I have this nut here, protecting it. I should probably get one of these pawns up, so it's just so I don't get in a double whammy. I think this is a good time for me to do that. If he goes for this, I'm just gonna set a trap. If he goes for this, I can give him a check. Doesn't fall for it. It's good. He does not indeed fall for it. I am up 2 pawns right now. I'll give him a check here. Just fall back. Oh my gosh. Well, boys, that is lost. And he can just take this, defending this rook. What? Alright, well, we just came back. Nice. I think I want to trade. I just can't get. I just don't want to get forked here by It's fine. No. Ooh. Oh my gosh, and he just takes this. What the heck is happening right now? Oh no, I messed up. I messed up that game. That was bad. Well, here's the open, and it looks like we. All right. Well, we took out previous day high. We for sure now cannot use the daily time frame because we've taken out the high. Honestly. It's interesting. That would be the 3-day high here right now. I'm actually gonna watch out for that. I'm gonna note that as a 3-day high. I think that's yeah. So notice how the way that we closed here on the 4-hour time frame, it closed pretty bullishly, right? And with the way that we closed, I can anticipate that we most likely will take out the daily, or not the daily, but the 4-hour high. And that's exactly what we did. We took out the 4-hour high. And yeah, so now after we take out the 4-hour high, one of my core principles is that we have to pivot. I have to pivot time frames if the objective has been completed. And so now what the plan is, the plan for me now is to utilize like maybe the hourly time frame, the 30-minute time frame, 15-minute time frame, those lower time frames, right? The lowest I would go for time frames at least is probably going to be the 15-minute time frame. That's like a good kind of time frame that I like to use. That's the lowest I would actually go. And yeah, that wraps it up for today. To be honest, I've already gone over the pros and cons. The morning objective has been completed, and I guess to leave you guys with what I would do coming into the afternoon session is, like I said, I would utilize the 6-hour time frame. So once we close here on the 6-hour time frame, that would give me a bias, and yeah, 6-hour time frame. And also use the 15-minute, 30-minute, hourly time frame as well. And yeah, that's gonna be pretty much all for today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in.